Welcome to Crime Most French, a fortnightly podcast covering intriguing cases carried out on French soil. Researched and narrated by Cedric and rudely interrupted by me, Melanie. We're the true crime podcast on the lines. Crack open Flavin and let the mayhem commence.
This is episode 56, 3 murders and a suicide.
Is this the less cheery follow-up to 4 Weddings and a Funeral?
Exactly. On the 14th of February 2000, the bodies of Morgane, 12 years old, and Manuela, 36 years old, are found dead in their home in Flavin in Aveyron. Is it revenge? Could it be a satanic ritual?
I'll give you a clue, it's never a satanic ritual.
No, sac lupus. So on the 14th of February 2000, Patrice Molinier, 43, he's a cooling system engineer. He works for a company that installs like fridges in lorries and maintains ACs and stuff.
So he works with Freon and stuff?
Yeah. Tries to call his wife at home in the morning but doesn't get an answer. He tried several times, never got an answer. So as soon as he could, he was on his way home. That was before lunch. They live in a countryside house that he had bought a few years earlier and restored when they moved to Flavin from Dordogne.
They moved from Dordogne?
Yes.
It's funny, most people move to Dordogne and do up old houses.
They had moved to Dordogne first.
Yes.
A few years earlier, but then they moved away.
Yeah. Well, they probably thought, oh my God, I can't put up with that many English and moved away.
When he gets home, he finds his wife, Manuela, his daughter, Morgane, from a previous relationship, dead, with a bullet in the head, on the couple's bed.
Mm.
And that was according to the police execution style. He searches the house, but he can't find his son Martin, who's 5 weeks old.
Oh, I wouldn't really put him as a suspect if he's only 5 weeks old.
No, he's not going to be a suspect, but he's missing.
Okay, that's not good.
It's 11:45. The owner of a nearby restaurant sees Patrice erupt in his restaurant shouting, "They killed my family."
They killed my family?
Yes.
That's weird. How does he think there's more than one shooter?
Don't know. That's what he says.
Okay.
So the restaurant owner calls the gendarmerie,
Mm.
and they come quickly. They find no trace of a break-in. They think the murderer probably knew the victims, because there's no trace of a fight.
Mm.
Only Morgane seems to have tried to protect herself because the bullet that went into her head first went through her hand.
Oh no.
Other than that, there's nothing out of place in the house. Nothing is missing, according to Patrice. There's even money in Manuela's handbag. Apparently she had a lot of money in the handbag. So it's all there.
Mm.
There's no fingerprint in the house that doesn't belong to the family.
So the family were they found in bed?
Yes. But
So
on the bed, shot on the bed.
On the bed. But
Yes.
they weren't like in their jammies and asleep and...
No.
No. Okay.
No, they were on the beds and shot.
You'd have to know somebody quite well to...
Assuming they were killed on the beds,
True.
they might not have been.
Okay.
So the gendarmerie decides that it can't be a robbery. There's
No.
too much
No.
valuables left around for...
If there's
for
no
that.
sign of a break-in and stuff.
And there's no
like-
sign of a break-in, yeah. The only thing that Patrice notices is a travel bag that's missing.
Okay.
The neighbors didn't hear anything, even though it was middle of the day. So the gendarmes don't know where to start, but for them, the priority isn't to solve the murder. The priority is to find the baby.
And the wee baby. Yeah, I mean, clearly, for me, I'm thinking that's how the wee one was taken out of the house.
Oh yeah, definitely, yes. With the
In
mum
that
and the
bag.
sister left in the house, the baby was taken, yes.
No, but I see the baby going into the travel bag.
Oh, I didn't think of that. Yeah, maybe.
Because it's going to be quite obvious
Yeah,
if you're carrying a bundle. I mean, that's kind of weird. That's much more noticeable when you're just
Yeah.
freehand carrying a child. But if you've got a travel bag, then that's you can almost overlook that.
Yeah, I didn't think of that. That's probably true. Yeah, that's probably why there's a missing bag, yeah. So, at 5 weeks old, they know that it's going to need food every few hours.
Mm.
So, they need to find that baby very quickly.
Yeah, or somebody's... a wet nurse.
Well, that's the thing. They thought that whoever abducted Martin either knew how to take care of a baby or worryingly didn't know anything about taking care of a baby. It's one or the other.
Yeah.
Because you either take it because you know what to do with it, or you take it because you don't know that you need to feed it every 2-3 hours.
The baby's either going to be really well looked after or dead.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they're worried, so they want to find it. So
let's hope it's a former.
They mobilize 60 gendarmes to do a search.
Yeah.
And they search everywhere. They even get divers into the river.
God.
They go down wells. A 5-year-old isn't big, so they even search bins in the streets. Nothing. They can't find any trace of the baby.
The father must have been going out of his head.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. They even go to the tip in Rodez, which is the nearby city, just in case it was thrown in the tip. But no, they can't find anything either. So no trace whatsoever. So they placed the murders at between 9:30 and 11:30 in the morning, because at 9:30, Manuela called her gynecologist for an appointment. And the person she talked to on the phone said that she didn't hear anything strange. She didn't sound like she was worried or scared or anything. It was just normal discussion.
I don't know whether I've told everybody this. Gynecologist is one of my favourite words in French, which is sage femme, which is wise woman. I may have mentioned it before, but it...
Not quite. The gynecologist is gynecolog.
Oh, yes.
A sage-femme is midwife.
Midwife, yeah.
But they tend to overlap.
Yeah, they do. They do both.
Yes.
You can go to a gynecologist to have a midwife to have your...
Yeah, some of them do. I don't know what the rule is.
Smear test, your pap smear.
Yes.
American.
Yeah. Some of I don't know. I don't know what the rule is, but some of them do that. Yes.
Well, you haven't really got the right equipment to go.
No.
to go and see them, so I guess you can be forgiven.
No. And they placed the murders before 11:30 because that's roughly the time Patrice got home.
Right. Okay. So we're talking in between a phone call and in between him getting home.
Yes.
And he's definitely not suspected.
Well, yes, he is, of course.
Oh, of course, yes.
We know from Provenza, it's always the husband, it's always the husband, it's always the husband. So,
yes.
yeah, of course, he's a prime suspect.
Yes.
The problem is nobody knows what happened in that period. Nobody heard anything, nobody saw anything, nobody saw anybody, there's just nothing. There's a big gap of 2 hours, and therefore they decide that it must be the husband. He didn't come home at 11:30, he must have been here before. So they interrogate him. They ask him questions at the gendarmerie barracks for 35 hours. And eventually he gives them a rock-solid alibi.
Right.
He gives them names of people he was with, customers, in that gap. And they check that, yes, he was with them. They confirm. And they calculate the time he would have had to go home and do anything, and they decide there's absolutely no way he could have been home in between the periods he saw people in various places.
So this isn't another sad incident of a father or a mother taking out their family?
Yes.
Okay. Good.
Another reason why he's a suspect is because they don't know anything about the family. They haven't moved to Flavin a long time ago.
Okay.
The neighbors don't know them. They just say they're quiet and they don't make a noise, so they're not annoying neighbors. Nobody knows anything really about them. So they think, okay, there must be something. There must be something that he's not telling us. So that's why they decided, okay, he's the husband. There must be something he's hiding. Therefore it's him. But no, they can't make it stick.
Sometimes you just don't have anything to tell the police. I mean, what would we tell?
Exactly.
What would we tell the police?
I know,
but we've never had any brushes with the law.
No. I guess it's their job to be suspicious.
To suspect everybody, yes.
But no, they just can't make anything stick. They tested, they checked everything he said, and everything checks out.
Right.
The neighbors don't have no complaint whatsoever. They're just polite and quiet, and there's just nothing.
They keep their head down and just being a family.
Yeah.
I mean, like 99.9% of us.
Yes. So they kind of rule him out. So they look into Manuela, the wife. They look into her past. She's his third wife. She's originally from Spain, from, if I can remember, is it Saragossa or that area?
All right,
When we
okay.
we go to southern
Somewhere
Spain.
vaguely up the north.
Yeah. Yes, the north of the mountains.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She met Patrice when they were both on holiday in Spain,
Mm-hmm.
and she moved with him to Rodez afterwards.
That explains why she hasn't got a very French-sounding name.
So, again, no useful information whatsoever.
Right.
Nobody knows her. Nobody has anything bad to say about her.
Yeah.
Again, just normal people doing normal things. And
yeah. In
that's
terms of victimology, they're very vanilla. They can't seem to find any reason.
There's no
Why?
reason for anything to happen. There's no reason to suspect them. There's just nothing.
Yeah, that's just it is a head scratcher at the moment.
Yeah. In total, the gendarmerie questions 250 people
Wow.
over 5 weeks.
Okay, so they're not being slouches. That's for sure.
No, they're working at it. They're
Yeah.
really trying to solve that case.
It's really worrying. 5 weeks and no baby.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that baby's now doubled his life, and
Yes.
they still
Yes.
haven't managed to
Yes.
find him.
No. Yeah. And the 250 people are not even counting the mediums that contact the gendarmerie on a regular basis because they had visions.
Oh my God, these people are a menace. They have to be given time, and it's just taking time away from an investigation.
Oh yeah, because they have to investigate
Yes.
everything they're told.
Of course.
And they said they just worked round the clock.
The baby's going to be found by a body of water.
Yeah, exactly.
Ugh.
There's a body of water everywhere.
Exactly.
So yeah. So all that for nothing. Nothing, absolutely nothing comes out of it. They know that the weapon used was a .22 long rifle again.
All
Like
right.
in the
Okay.
recent
That
case we
seems
talked
to be
about.
quite common.
Yeah, because as I said, it
Yeah.
was considered a toy in the
Yeah.
until the 70s or 80s. It was a toy.
Yeah.
Everybody had one. Everybody was given one between the age of like 8 and 15 or something. Everybody had one. There must be thousands of those in the country.
So what's the thing that's up in our loft?
It's not a .22. It's a pellet gun.
Okay. Because it looks like a gun to me.
It is a gun, but it's a pellet gun. It's not going to kill anyone. It shoots very small lead things,
All right.
and it's extremely slow because it's air pump.
All right. I see.
So no, it's not a .22.
We take out a mouse.
No, I don't think it would kill anything. I've shot it before, and shooting it at a target in wood at my uncle's, it barely goes into the wood. It wouldn't kill anything.
All right.
So that's properly a toy.
Right. Okay.
But the .22 was a proper gun that could kill people,
Okay.
but was still considered a gun until not that long ago. So they know it's a .22, and that probably explains why the neighbors didn't hear anything, because they're very quiet.
Yeah, slow,
They're
quiet.
low power, slow gun. It doesn't make a huge amount of noise. So the neighbors didn't hear. They discover one lead. There's a group of teenagers that were waiting for the school bus at a street not far from the house. And they mentioned that they spotted a dark blue BMW registered in Switzerland. So, of course,
yeah.
in the south of France, it kind of sticks out.
Yeah.
So the driver apparently had stopped and asked them where to find Rue Saint-Pierre, which was the street where the murders happened.
Okay. Is it a big street though? You know.
No, it's a residential street. There's just a
Right.
few houses, but the guy wanted to know where that street was.
Okay.
The gendarmes questioned everybody in the neighborhood about that car, and nobody had expected a visit. So it's not somebody from Switzerland who was expecting to visit. So whoever that is a stranger who doesn't know the area and is there for some reason.
Yeah.
And nobody knows what that reason is. Apparently the same car was seen late on Monday, so that is the evening, near a baker's, and the driver apparently went out of the car and bought some bread. But the baker doesn't remember that. Of course, the baker must see hundreds of people a day.
I was going to say.
It doesn't remember a guy specifically, and probably didn't see the car. So
Yeah, and didn't go, hang on a minute, he's Swiss.
Yes, exactly. So, again, that's a dead end. They don't know what to do with it. During the interrogation, Patrice was asked about everybody he knows. Apparently, it's a very long list, and he listed everybody he's met in his life.
Wow.
And they checked everything.
Good memory.
Every single person he mentioned, they checked. And that was a lot. But in that list, there was a guy who lived in the US called Jean-Marie von Matt. He lived in Florida with his wife, but when they checked the flight from the US to Switzerland, they discovered that he was on the plane a couple of days earlier, landing in Zurich.
That's intriguing.
So then he becomes interesting.
Mm.
Because he knew the victim,
Yeah.
lived in the US,
Mm-hmm.
and traveled to Switzerland, where a car came from, looking for their street. So now they're getting very, very interested in whoever that is.
Yeah, I'd be checking to see who'd hired cars. And
Exactly. So
Zurich
that's what
Airport.
they do. They go to Switzerland and go around the car rental airport, and around the airports and stuff to find whoever rented a car. But the problem is the kids were a bit vague. They said Switzerland, but then they said maybe Belgium, or was it Spain?
Oh no.
Was it black? Was it blue? Anyway, they go to Switzerland and they look for that car, that BMW. And it turns out it's not a BMW. It was an Opel Vectra. But they find it.
How can you get a Vectra mixed up with a BMW? Come on, kids.
Yeah, I know. But they found an Opel Vectra that was rented by a French citizen with a US address around Zurich.
Ooh, intriguing.
So they found the car.
But why would he want to come home and come back to France and shoot somebody he's not seen presumably for years? Well, shoot the family of...
Yes, exactly. It doesn't make sense.
No.
And they have absolutely no explanation. And they don't know anything about that dude anyway. So
Yes.
they really don't know.
But now you're going to tell us.
But they got the car.
Right.
It had been rented and cleaned, of course,
Of course.
since then, because
Yes.
we're talking at least 5 weeks later, possibly more.
No, yes, of course, that's right.
But the forensic team discovers traces of blood under the passenger seat,
Oh, no.
and it's Martin's. And they discover a .22 bullet as well under the seat with Martin's blood on it.
Oh, no.
Now they're pretty much sure he's dead. So they start digging into that guy, and they discovered that on the 13th of February, so we're talking the day before, he arrived in Zurich from Miami, where he's been living for several years. He rented the Opel, and he went on by the road to the southwest of France, destination Rodez. He slept in a hotel in the outskirts of Rodez. They went around the hotels, and they found where that guy was under a false name.
Right.
How they discovered where he stayed under a false name, I have no idea.
Yeah, it's really weird.
It must be because of the reg plate.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, yeah, presumably.
They must
That'd
have
be the only
either
way.
CCTV or maybe they recorded the reg
Yeah.
plate because there's a car park and they asked him what his reg plate was so they would allow the car in or something like that. I've had hotels do that to us.
Yeah.
So it could be. But anyway, they found which
Yeah.
hotel he stayed in overnight on between the 13th and the 14th.
Right.
The hotel owner remembers that he asked for the road to Flavin. That's where the family lived.
This is, of course, just, if he'd done the crime about 4 or 5 years later, he'd just be pumping it into the GPS and we wouldn't have the kids remembering
Yes.
the BMW stroke Vectra stopping and asking for directions.
So they start digging into the past of that dude. And they discovered that the Moulinier and Von Matz met in Dordogne, where they all lived a few years earlier.
They also escaped Dordogne away from all those expat English.
Yes, but they went to Florida, so really...
Well, I'd rather stay in Dordogne than Florida.
So Moulinier liked purebred dogs, and Von Matt, who owned the castle at the time, the proper castle, was breeding horses and dogs. So that's how they met and they became friends.
Right. I take it he was breeding dogs and horses and not horses and dogs, because that would be kind of weird. Weird hybrid.
Yes. So the two couples became close.
Right.
Especially Patrice and Simone Maria, who's Von Matt's wife.
Oh.
Apparently they were introduced by Von Matt, the husband, who showed Patrice nude photos of his wife. And he organized the relationship.
Oh, that is... No, sorry. Why would you show pictures... Oh, no, that is well strange. Oh, that makes my blood curdle.
Yes. So the relationship that apparently he organized, or he set up, lasted a few months.
So he's some kind of cuck then, is he?
I don't know. Apparently the people who knew the two couples talked about throuple.
Right.
Which really pissed me off. I don't like portmanteau names. A group of two people is a triple. and a triple has meaning. And also it works for a couple of 3. So why would you call... Anyway.
Portmanteau, if there's any new words made up, 9 times out of 10 they're portmanteaus.
I know, but they're pissing me off because it makes no sense. But anyway, especially when they're not needed. But anyway, they're a triple. I call them a triple.
And for those francophiles amongst you, obviously portmanteau is where you hang your coat.
It's a coat hanger.
It's a coat hanger. Well, it's not a coat hanger. It's a coat hanger is something you hang your coat. Like a wire coat hanger. It's not like one of those. It's like a stand, a hat stand, like a coat stand.
Yes. Anyway, Von Matt is known for being very difficult, for liking guns, and for being on a mystic side.
So it's probably why he went to Florida then, if he likes guns.
That could be. I don't know why he went to Florida. I didn't see any explanation for him going there. It could have been business, could have been something else. I don't know. All I know is that at some point he sold the castle to a brother-in-law of a French actress, I think.
Right.
I can't remember which one. But anyway, they just suddenly moved to Florida, and that was it, a few years earlier. For example of his being difficult, he refuses to put his kids in school. So it's his wife, Simone, who tutors them. Mm-hmm. And she's the total opposite of him. She's trained as a pharmacist, and people describe her as posh and nice.
And not a complete lunatic.
And not a lunatic like him, yeah. But eventually, life and work split the 2 couples, and the Moulinier moved to Rodez, and the Von Matt moved to Miami. So that's how they lost touch, essentially. And that was a good number of years before the murders. Unfortunately, the gendarmes also discovered that Von Matt took the plane back to Miami on the 17th.
Right.
So 3 days after the murders.
Right.
So it's not going to be easy.
No, I can see where this is going because I suddenly remembered what the title of the podcast is. I'm not going to get the justice I want here, but carry on.
Yeah. So one question they have is, what did he do for 3 days? Because if it's him, he murdered the family on the 14th and only took the plane back on the 17th. What did he do for these 2 days in the middle?
Oh, I mean, it'd probably take you quite a while to go drive back to the airport.
No, it takes a day, so there's no need to have that much time.
And then a day's rest, and then you're leaving.
Yeah, but they check the car, and they discover that he had done 300 kilometers more than what was needed to go to Rodez and back.
Right.
So he drove 3 hours away to do something.
Maybe he was like us. Maybe he wanted to nip across the border and get some good biscotti, which is
what they do is they measure the distance to where he used to live in Dordogne, and it kind of matches.
Right. So he went in the other direction.
So they go there. Mm. And when they get there, not far from a barn and a well, they find about a 1 meter wide burn pit.
Oh, no.
And at the bottom, they find a .22 bullet.
No,
again,
they're going to find wee bones, aren't they?
There's stuff in there. They send it for analysis. They suspect it might be clothes and bones, yes. Eventually, spoilers, yes, it is clothes and bones.
That guy's a monster.
So they probably found what's left of Martin.
Yeah, fucking monster. I hope he died really fucking painfully. Not the baby, obviously, not Martin, but the murderer.
So what they think is he shot the baby when he was on the passenger seat. And that's why there's bullets in the car. What they don't understand is what the fourth bullet was for. The one in the pit. What was that fourth bullet? Because the bullet number 3 in the car had blood on it, so he had obviously shot the baby with it. What was the first one or the fourth one for? They don't know. There's no explanation. I couldn't find any newspaper telling the story of that fourth bullet. It just happens to be in the same pit. And of course, because it's been cooked, there's no way to know if there was anything on it. So
I was going to say maybe it misfired or something, but...
No, because there's blood in bullet number 3, and bullet number 3 would have happened before bullet number 4.
Oh, that's true.
So, don't know. They can't explain that fourth bullet. But anyway, it's there, and they found the rest of Martin. What they didn't know, and what they learned when they start digging into Von Matt's life, is on the 9th of December 1999, a few months earlier, because remember the murders were 14th of February 2000. Mm-hmm. So it's like a month and a week or so earlier, Simone Von Matt had died of a cerebral hemorrhage after a few weeks in coma.
Okay, so this is the snap,
and she was just 50. And yes, they think that's what made him snap. Somehow that pushed him over the edge, and they don't know why.
I see, because he's still got his family and his life. He's going to take
But what does it have to do with his wife being dead? It's just, there's no link. They just can't explain it.
It's sometimes very hard to paste logic over a logical act. So.
Yeah. So the French gendarmerie decides to go and look for him.
Mm-hmm.
So they go to Miami. And just a few days before they land, the Miami police discovers his body in April 2000 in his flat.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently he hadn't had any contact with his two sons for a few weeks. So they said, okay, go and have a look. And they found his body.
A wellness check. Yeah.
Apparently he shot himself in the head with a collection P38 that he owned. That's the gun the German officers had during World War II.
No, I'm liking this guy more and more.
Yeah. They think it happened on the 10th of March.
Mm.
So about 2 weeks after he came back from France. Before he went to Zurich, Von Matt had called Patrice.
Mm-hmm.
Patrice remembers that. When he was interrogated, he mentioned it. To mention the death of his wife. And he had mentioned something to that Patrice remembered. He said that they needed to free her soul. And to the police, it smells of teenage death pact.
Mm.
Like all three had sworn to meet after death or something stupid like that.
Okay.
That's what they think was really the story.
Yeah. Standing with St. Peter's at the gate.
Something, yeah.
Yes.
Something like that. Patrice at the time hadn't paid attention because his son had just arrived. So really, blah, blah, blah on the phone. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Click. Didn't pay attention to what he was saying. But when he was interrogated, it came back to him.
It clicked.
That weird thing that Von Matt mentioned that he said made no sense to him.
So he's taken, his wife's gone, he's going to go with her, but he's going to take Patrice's family with him.
Well, the gendarmes saying that they might have made a pact when they lived in Dordogne at the time that Patrice has forgotten because I don't know, who knows. They might have done it when they were drunk and who knows. So he completely forgot about it. Von Matt hasn't. So to him, it seemed to be very important.
Yeah, but why take out his family and not him?
Don't know.
Because he wasn't there?
Yeah, could be opportunity. He went to the house, found the wife and the kid and the daughter and the son, but he wasn't there, so he killed them all and went away.
And
maybe.
Why take poor Martin away? Just...
Don't know.
And why kill a baby?
Nobody can explain it.
I don't think I've been so more... I mean, we don't have kids and I'm not very maternal, but killing a 5-week-old baby, man, that is cold. Dark and just the most evil thing ever.
Yeah, nobody can explain it. The gendarmerie doesn't know why. Patrice doesn't know why.
No.
It is totally unexplained. But the gendarmes made some connections. They think that the pit in Dordogne, where the body was found, or the rest of Martin was found, was a sacrifice because they found a ring of salt around it. So they're thinking that was a satanic ritual that Von Matt did. For once, it might be one.
No, it's never a satanic.
Why would you put a ring of salt around a burn pit where you burn a body?
I don't know. I have no explanation. But
exactly.
I find it very hard to... it's just all nonsense.
I know it makes no sense to a rational person, but to them, that's probably what happened. In his head, it made sense. Okay.
Maybe he thought he was going to grow into salting Carthage. Peter the Great. No, not Peter. No, Peter the Great that salted Carthage. No, who salted Carthage? Was it just the Romans?
Yes, it was the Romans.
Well, maybe he felt Roman that day and he was going to salt the earth. I don't.
They also connected to his death because on the scene of the suicide, the U.S. police who found the body say that he was on the black tarp. The walls of the flat were covered in photos of Simone. Some of them old, some of them more recent, and even some of them she was dead in her casket. So the walls were totally covered in photos of her. The whole room was a shrine, essentially. It's kind of surprising given how he treated his wife, but because she wasn't treated very well.
No.
But anyway,
he loved her more in death than she was when.
Obviously, He was also all dressed in black. And on the floor, they found post-its saying things like, arrive in peace and you need to go.
He's obviously had some kind of psychotic break.
But it sounds like a bit like Simone wrote them, but of course she was dead.
No,
so.
of course.
But that reminded me of Bates.
Norman Bates.
Oh, Norman Bates.
Bates Hotel.
Sorry, got the wrong name. Norman Bates. Yeah, it reminded me of that. So yeah, so it feels like Simone was living in his head, essentially.
Yeah, could be.
Because the post-its really sounded like she was writing things to him.
Yes.
And she had been dead for a month and a half. So anyway, the police interviews their three sons, his and her three sons, and they said that they had completely severed relationships with him in the last few weeks because they thought he was going a bit psycho. They didn't like the way he was behaving, so they decided, nah, I'm not talking to you anymore.
Yeah.
But because they didn't hear from him for such a long time, they started to be worried. So that's why the police was sent in April to his flat and found his dead body. So, of course, because he was isolated in the last weeks of his life from his son and from everybody,
making it even worse.
It probably made things worse, but also nobody can explain what was going on because he had no contact with anybody. He didn't talk to anyone, didn't say anything.
Really, it would have been so much better if the sons had actually
Yes, well, we might have known something, yes.
And, well, no, just actually had him sanctioned because there's no way he should have been out in the world.
Yes. So also the problem is he didn't explain his actions. So why did he kill the Moulinier? Is it because of the relationship between Patrice and Simone? But he created it himself. According to Patrice, of course, we know only one side of the story. We don't know.
Very true. It could have just been an affair, yeah. That's very true.
We don't know.
Yeah. Good point.
Why did he abduct the baby? Where did he find the .22? He's traveling. So according to his sons, he had one. But in 2000, you don't travel across the Atlantic with a gun. No. Where did he find?
Not post 9/11. No.
Yeah, exactly. So where did he find the one he used in France? And where is it? It was never found. They don't know how that happened.
This takes place pre 9/11.
Yeah, it's pre 9/11, but still in 2000, you don't travel with a gun.
Yes.
In the 60s, yes. In 2000, no, you don't travel with a gun.
You're probably given a gun in the 60s on your way out.
Yeah, from Texas, it would be compulsory. So they don't know where he got that gun because he went straight from Zurich to Rodez and somehow on that trip collected a .22 somehow. They just don't know where it came from. So there's lots of areas that are totally unexplained.
Yes, there's holes and just...
And unfortunately, because the victims are dead, the murderer is dead, that's it. That's the end of the inquiry because there's no point really looking more into that murder.
Everything's been tied up, isn't it?
Exactly. So we'll never know because nobody's looking and nobody has any reason to look. So that's the end of the story of the Moulinier murders.
Yeah. And sometimes a couple is better than a throuple.